pull up that article. This was kind of going viral, and I thought it was interesting. All right, so here, pause that video. I don't know what kind of bullshit they're going. Okay, scroll up. 24-year-old Australian woman set friend on fire for making misogynistic remark. Scroll down. You guys might have seen this. That's good. Keep it there. An Australian woman allegedly lit her longtime friend on fire because he made a misogynistic remark during a wild night of partying. A court heard earlier this month. Corby, 24, pleaded guilty in court to the arson attack on Jake Loader, 23, saying she felt overwhelmed by his antagonistic behavior throughout the night before she was finally set off by a sexist remark he made during a house party in New South Wales last year, according to the ABC. Scroll down a little bit. Loader told her she should... So the alleged misogynistic comment was she should stay in the kitchen making scones if she couldn't handle drinking with the boys, which sent the 24-year-old into a rage. The court heard, according to the outlet, she grabbed a gallon of gasoline from the garage and doused the guy with the flammable substance, waving a lighter at him threateningly. Go on, do it. That's a kind of a stupid thing to say. It's like these... Look, I don't condone violence, but if somebody's like threatening you with a gun, you probably shouldn't say, go shoot me, pussy. Like, you probably shouldn't taunt or provoke somebody who's got, who's threatening physical violence. What are you going to do? Shoot me? And then they get...
in the moment.
Look, you shouldn't do it, but come on. All right. He was drunk, though, and he had consumed nose candy, she confessed. Scroll down. Wappily then touched him with the lighter, setting him ablaze. Loader sustained burns to 50% of his body and had some of his sweat glands burned off. He was put in a medically induced coma for 8 days after the attack, according to a victim impact statement read in court. He required 10 operations and spent 74 days in a burn unit at a Melbourne hospital, according to the statement. Scroll down a bit. Suffered burns. The friend, he can't step outside because of the damage. She had been, I guess, drinking and taking substances. She claimed she was pushed to the edge due to his misogynistic comments. Tried to wrestle with her? The fuck? And was being antagonistic throughout the night. She feels horrible, remorseful. Scroll down. All right. Scroll down. I find it very hard to believe the injuries that were caused was from my doing. I mean, you lit the dude on fire. She pleaded guilty to one charge of burning or maiming by using corrosive fluid. So she's back in court this month for sentencing. So I want to go around the table on this, get the panel's reaction. So the allegations here are he was making, throughout the course of the night, various misogynistic comments, get back in the kitchen, something like that. And then she lit him on fire. Do you think that's inappropriate? Think it's a fair response, starting with you, going around the table?
I think if he's less misogynistic now, it's probably a net positive. But if he's not, I'd say it's a bit much.
What's a bit much?
Extreme for her to light him on fire.
Wait, so just to be clear, a man was nearly burned to death, and your knee-jerk initial reaction is, well, if he's a bit less misogynistic.
Net positive, though, not.
That's the. So when you say net positive in totality.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, what she did was really awful, and like he's gonna have to suffer for the rest of his life because of it. But if like his casual misogyny is lessened,
it's a net
positive. Yeah.
What's the math? What's the calculus on it being a net positive?
Let's say if he just stayed like super misogynistic and like got his friends together and they were all kind of like that, then they're kind of causing a lot of hell on women. If he's less misogynistic now and he's not getting all his guys together to say things about women, it doesn't affect
I see. So what you're saying is that serious bodily...
He's like a martyr, if anything.
So what you're saying is serious bodily injury, so long as within your purview, there's a... wait, just to be clear, I can't even wrap my head around the comment you've just made, but violent crime, not as bad, or sorry, violent crime more bad than misogynistic joke.
Not necessarily. I think it's more nuanced, I'd say.
Explain the nuance.
Because if you're constantly talking bad about women in that way,
Sure.
or saying that women, should stick to these sort of roles, it perpetuates in the long term kind of violence against women in general on a grand scale. But also, just to be frank, I was kind of kidding, and it is wrong of her to have done that.
Well, I'm a bit confused. You just said that there was nuance.
It's wrong that she did. Okay.
No. I'm saying hold on to her. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think in this specific situation, I'm not saying everyone should light men on fire because that would make the world better. I'm just saying in this instance, if it happened to make him less misogynistic, it's probably a net positive.
Do you know what that?
But I'm not encouraging violence against men.
Right. So what you're saying is, yes, it was bad that he got lit on fire.
Yes.
What she did was wrong. But if the outcome is that he's now less allegedly misogynistic, that it was actually worth it that she burned him. Because in order for your statement to be true, that it's a net positive, it would have to indicate that it's worth it, right? If it's a net positive.
Yeah,
Would you kill Hitler, baby? Baby Hitler,
this
excuse
is
me?
too deep of a question.
If you could time travel back in time, would you kill baby Hitler? Because it would be a net positive, right? In your worldview.
Yeah.
So you would.
I don't have a definite answer on that, but I do denounce the genocide of the Jewish people. And
okay, that's not really answering my question, though. So the hypothetical.
I don't know, because what would happen if I killed baby Hitler and then, Mussolini did something even more extreme and crazy? I don't know.
The Italian.
The
butterfly effect.
Yeah, I don't know the butterfly effect, but I would say if the only difference there is that Hitler didn't exist and then, the concentration camps didn't happen.
So what's your, you did, I don't know if you're walking back your position a little bit, doing a Maud and Bailey, but you said that you're joking. Please be more specific, though, because you're saying there's nuance to the situation. So again, is her act justified because of the net positive? Assuming assuming he's going to be less misogynistic now, is it justified to some degree?
I'd say no, violence is not ever justifiable.
But you did say that the net
positive, yeah, if we're talking about long-term effects on what potentially his statements and actions could have caused against multitudes of women, more than just one person.
And is this your subjective opinion, or you think objectively?
Obviously. If it was objective, I think that would mean that if we just burned everyone who said that, then the world would be better, but I don't necessarily think that's the case.
Okay. And so what if I had a position that feminist rhetoric is damaging, and there was a movement to basically light on fire every single feminist, and if I could prove to you, if I could demonstrate that it would clearly be a net positive on society to burn feminists, you would then be in favor of that too.
If that were the case and you could prove that, then I guess technically sure, and sure.
Okay, so as long as it's a net positive.
But I'm anti-violence, and I don't think this on a grand scale would actually.
Well, you yourself wouldn't perform or participate in said violence, but if other people could
I still don't
violence.
agree. Yeah, I don't want anyone to be lit on fire. I was just saying.
Okay.
It's potentially less harmful what she did compared to what potentially, but this is all just
sure. Why don't I ask you this? So you're a feminist, right?
Sure, if you want to classify it that way.
Well, are you not a feminist?
Probably not in your definition. I care for like gender liberation. So
Gender, what's that?
just equality and equity for everyone, no matter your gender identity.
So you think feminism is not about gender equality?
Well,
What is
feminism
then?
historically, if we are talking about like first wave, second wave, third wave, had super specific like reason and outcome, like gaining the right to vote and owning banks and property and stuff like that, or their own bank account. I think now we're in a different situation where we have, in a lot of ways, equal rights legally, but I think socially, women and men suffer in the structure that we have right now. So I'm pro gender liberation. So for everyone.
Okay. I think some people, and what do you think about, are you in favor of deconstructing or dismantling the patriarchy?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I would consider you a feminist then.
Okay.
I had a good follow-up question on this. Shoot, it's evading me though. I'm going to think about it. We'll come back to you. Your reaction to that article.
I don't like violence. I hate that. If she wanted to get back at him, she should have gnomed his house.
She should have what?
Gnomed his house or sent like Jehovah's Witnesses or like forked it.
Right.
Prank called.
Okay. Got it. Oh, I recall going back to you really quick, and then I'll let the rest of the panel weigh in on the thing. So going back to you, it sounded like, and this is perhaps going back to your argument about how net positive, right? So probably this is within the feminist purview. You might agree with the following statement, like women are a victim of violent crime at men's hands. This is especially prevalent in like SA statistics and other sort of forms of like sexual violence and just interpartner violence in relationships, right? Would you say it would be a net positive? So, for example, you could probably get rid of most of this, at least within your worldview, if you just got rid of men entirely. Would that then be a net positive to just get rid of all men?
No. I mean, technically, sure, if all the men weren't there, then who's doing the violent crimes and acts? Mm-hmm. Sure, but I think men are just as much of a victim in the structure that we have now, and that causes them to commit the violence. Suppressing your emotions from a young age, putting specific roles on men as man of the house and man up and stuff like that. They tend to act out violently because they can't express their emotions, or they don't have a space like women do, to where like we're known as being emotional, and like so we can kind of have that space together. Not that we're not judged for it, but still we're able to, without being emasculated. So although men are the oppressors, it doesn't mean that they themselves aren't victims at the hands of the patriarchy too.
All right. I might get into some of that stuff a little bit later on in the show, but you said men are oppressors?
Yes.
And women are what?
The oppressed.
So just so I fully understand, men are oppressors collectively as a group. Mm-hmm. Okay. And women are oppressed collectively as a group.
Yes.
Okay. And you're a woman?
Yes.
Okay. Are you oppressed?
As a woman. Yes, we live under a patriarchy, so sure.
But how specifically are you oppressed?
I think the main ways that I see it in my daily life is like the hypersexualization of women. Mm-hmm. Men aren't sexualized in such a way, and then the commodification of that sexualization. So porn and OnlyFans, and it's seen as kind of like women empowerment, but I think it's just teetering a dangerous line of just like becoming that role of women in society.
Would you say the hypersexualization of women, and you said this applies to you yourself, is this systemic or is this on individual level?
I think it's systemic. The existence of porn and OnlyFans affects every woman, no matter if they participate in that activity or not.
But wouldn't these industries also systemically impact men?
In what ways?
Well, you said OnlyFans, porn, they systemically impact women. Uh-huh. But then I would argue they systemically also would impact men.
I think so too.
So then men are oppressed systemically because of OnlyFans.
Yes, I'm not saying men have the ability to be the oppressors. I'm not saying that they aren't also oppressed in their own way as well.
Okay.
But it's at the hands of themselves almost, because they have the power to oppress and they're kind of putting it upon themselves.
Can you clarify?
Not
what you mean
individually.
a little bit?
Just kind of the bro-pilled ideology of like man up and get in the gym and this is what women want to see, and it's like all kind of they're not talking to women to see what women really want. They're just discussing amongst other men.
Wait, you think going to the gym is...
No, I'm just saying this idea.
Why did you mention the gym, though? What does that have to do with...
Because I'm thinking about the internet and how that kind of gym content kind of pushes you into this field of like bettering yourself, but then you get into like these conservative...
Are you against men bettering themselves?
No, I'm just saying it's kind of like a rabbit hole that you go into on the internet.
Wait, physical fitness is a rabbit hole for extremist right-wing propaganda?
Yes.
Strength training, weightlifting is...
A lot of the times,
is a slippery slope to right-wing propaganda.
Yes. Because think of like Andrew Tate, like he's all about self-betterment and all of those kinds of things, and that's super similar.
Do you know that Hitler was also a vegetarian? Do you think like vegetarians
I'm talking about media as it is now, not simply because you go in the gym and get stronger to better yourself, you become... I'm saying like the pipeline on the internet is kind of algorithmically leads you there.
Yeah, but just because Andrew Tate advocates for like strength training and getting in physical shape, I don't think you can draw from that then, any sort of advocation towards increasing your health or physical strength would indicate that you're like going to go down some like right-wing
Yeah, I'm just saying
pipeline.
That's mainly what I've witnessed.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you think that your scope is a bit, it's just a bit narrow-minded, and I'm sorry, like it's a little awkward.
No, that's fine.
Nothing against you.
No.
But, because of social media, right? Like for example, if I only watch the whatever podcast, I may think, all people think in this particular manner, right? Sorry, I wasn't speaking in the microphone. If I'm only seeing Andrew Tate, and my algorithm pops up more stuff like that, right? And I don't agree with that, I might think that all men operate in a certain way, when in actuality, that's not the case whatsoever, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of what I hear you saying is very, very negative towards men. And I happen to think that men are actually pretty incredible. And if you have time to look at all that they really do bring to the table, I think they bring so much more than we do. Because we are very emotionally minded. We think of me, and so on and so forth. And I know that's
like
kind of going...
women, you're saying?
Women, right? And I know it's kind of going away a little bit from what you're saying, but I just think that, if you're seeing particular algorithms, especially with social media, then we have this idea that all men are a certain way, when in actuality, that's not the case.
Yeah. I don't think all men are a certain way. I was just drawing kind of a correlation between men's betterment and improvement and getting in the gym. I see strongly correlated to red pill ideologies online.
But what is the problem with, and I don't actually know specifically what red pill ideology is. That like it's basically like the conservative view. Would you agree that it's more that route?
Yes.
And have you taken time to look at what the conservative view actually is when it comes to as society as a whole? And how it contributes to our children and the betterment of society?
Yes. I just kind of disagree with placing binary roles onto people. I think it's dangerous for society, and I think that's why the suicide rates are exponentially increasing. So I just kind of disagree with the idea that men should act a certain way and women should act a certain way. And when I see these types of things perpetuated online, I think that's dangerous, especially when it's kind of strung up as self-improvement and betterment, when it's just kind of like, this is how a man should act. I just think that's dangerous.
I want to let Savannah come in here because Savannah, you describe yourself as feminist worst nightmare.
Yeah.
You've been listening to what she said. She said, I don't want to mischaracterize your argument, but you're saying that the gender roles, or perhaps traditional gender roles when it comes to men and women, these are harmful, can be harmful. Is that a fair recap of your position?
Yes, it can be harmful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your
I mean,
thoughts on that?
So I would agree with you that I think most men that weightlift are conservative, and I think that there's a reason that most men that weightlift are conservative. Like, generally speaking, I think conservatives take better care of themselves. I've never really seen a liberal with a ton of muscle. I think that they're mostly like skinny, weak men. There is that stigma, right? But like the conservative movement, especially with Make America Healthy Again, has pushed that, of course, because our side actually wants people to weightlift, to eat healthier, to stop taking medicine. And the liberal side doesn't want that. So I think that that's not a bad thing for men to be conservative and manly and masculine and weightlift. Would you disagree?
No, I won't disagree. I was just saying there is a correlation there.